Hello, welcome to a new episode of Geek Lunch Me. I'm your host Chris, as usual. So what I thought we'd do today is a sort of follow-up video to one that I made about 8 months ago, looking at the Marvel box office at the time. Things were starting to look not so great for them. The box office receipts were down on the previous phases. So Ant-Man and Quantumania have been pretty much a bust. And I think at the time I made the video, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 had just hit the cinemas and we weren't quite sure exactly how it was going to pan out. It looked like it was opened quite strongly, and indeed it did end up making a considerable amount of money for Marvel. Check out the video if you've not already seen it. So I'll go right back to starting off with Iron Man, right at the back at the beginning of the MCU, looking at the box office take of all the MCU movies and just sort of looking at the trends and just seeing just how much trouble were Marvel really in, if at all. And basically the conclusion of that video was if you make a good movie, people go and watch it. Spider-Man No Way Home had not long been out at the time. It had been very well reviewed and people really enjoyed seeing all the Spider-Men from the different universes come together, and it made a $1.9 billion I think overall. And then going back to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think at the end of its run it did almost 900 million, and again got pretty positive reviews from everyone. So yeah, with all the talk of superhero fatigue and all that sort of thing, the conclusion pretty much was, if the film is good, people will come and watch it. But I thought what we'd do, there's been some rumours and stuff swirling around recently with the MCU and some sort of goings on behind the scenes. So I thought we'd have a catch up, get up to date with the state of play. And of course, if you like the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Helps us out a great deal, helps the videos get seen by a lot more people. And if you've not already subscribed to the channel, why not hit that subscribe button? Picked up loads of new subscribers over the last couple of months. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed. The YouTube stats tell me that I think still about 80-90% of you watching these videos haven't subscribed. As I say, why not smash that subscribe button, and we'd absolutely love to have you as a subscriber. So since that video that I put out, as I say, about 8 months ago, we've only actually had one MCU movie reach the cinemas, which is something I'll go into a bit more depth into in a little bit. But yeah, The Marvels was the only MCU movie that's actually sort of hit the cinema, say within those last 8 months. Now, when the original Captain Marvel came out in 2019, it was sandwiched between Infinity War, which took $2 billion, and Endgame, which took roughly $2.8 billion. So it was, Marvel was at its highest, and they introduced Captain Marvel. We knew that the character was going to feature in Endgame, and it got pretty good reviews. It was a solid flick, and ended up taking 1.1 billion, which for a brand new character that hadn't been seen on the screen before, was pretty damn good. Now, cut to 2023, and its follow-up, The Marvels, 200 million is its box office. Its worldwide total box office during its whole cinematic run, which makes it by far and away the lowest grossing MCU movie, even less than like the original Incredible Hulk movie, if you go all the way back to the beginning of phase 1, when MCU movies weren't the sort of automatic hit that we've become used to. But as I say, even a lesser film like the Incredible Hulk beat The Marvels. So this is a franchise that's gone from 1.1 billion with its first movie to 200 million. That's an absolutely huge drop off when you consider the budget has been estimated at about 275 million. And there's that rule of thumb that for a big blockbuster, you can basically double its budget, and that's how much money the film has to make in order to turn a profit when you take into account all of the advertising and promotional costs and the fact that cinemas take so much of the ticket price. The studio really needs a film to sort of double its budget really in order to be profitable. So we go back to our statement that if you make a good movie, people will go and watch it. Now obviously opinions are subjective, and people will have different takes on this. I personally found the movie to be quite a fun view, quite balmy in places. I would say yes, heavily edited. There was sort of rumours that things have been reshot and shuffled around. You could tell quite some choppy editing somewhere, but the sort of central conceit of the three of them having had their powers entangled, and every time they use them they swap places, I thought was used really well and come up with some really inventive action scenes. It's definitely a smaller stakes movie in the MCU. At times it did feel almost to me like an extended TV episode. And I think it's also one of the shortest running Marvel movies as well, which I think adds to that feeling. And we always talk about Marvel villains usually not really being up to snuff. Sort of, Thanos excluded. And yeah, the villain, again, was weak, and I thought the sort of end battle was all over very quickly. It wasn't particularly climactic. Again, it felt sort of quite a slight movie. But taking that all into account, I thought overall, it was quite a fun flick. And if we look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's the aggregate website that takes all the different critics sort of scores and basically sort of averages them out. Now Rotten Tomatoes had it at 62% from the critics, 82% for the audience. I remember at the time it came out, general word seemed to be that quite a lot of people actually found it quite enjoyable. But a 200 million pound box office take does obviously doesn't reflect that in the slightest. People did not turn out to watch this movie. So why is that? Let's take a look. So first of all, the pandemic, although it seems like quite a long time ago now, cinemas are still not up to the pre-COVID levels. So you could argue that's one factor, but then, on saying that, Spider-Man No Way Home took 1.9 billion, so people will turn out. Avatar, The Way of Water, took $2 billion again. So it certainly shows that if there's a film that people want to see, they will go and see it. So I don't think we can really use that sort of COVID excuse sort of anymore for something like this. Disney Plus, I think Disney Plus plays a big part of it. In twofold, people are now used to the fact that a movie at the cinema is going to crop up on Disney Plus. Probably within about 4 or 5 months. If it doesn't do very well at the cinema, it might crop up even sooner than that. So I think Disney have sort of conditioned people, they've sort of shot themselves in the foot, really. They've conditioned people that, maybe going to see the latest blockbuster at the cinema isn't necessary anymore, because you better watch it in the comfort of your own home on a subscription service that you already pay for. Now, the other thing with Disney Plus is the fact that with the Marvels, the trailers very much featured Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau. And if you hadn't seen WandaVision or Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, you probably didn't even know who they were. And as I say, the sort of all the advertising and the trailers featured them a great deal, and basically made out that the Marvels was this team of the three of them, and that may have put a lot of people off who weren't familiar with the characters. You've also got the fact that the trailer was quite lackluster at any rate, I thought. And I wonder if that is to do with the fact that maybe they were still editing the movie together. And I wonder if part of that is because they were still trying to find the movie in the edit, which is never a great thing. And as I've just said, it seemed to me like a much smaller film. It didn't have like massive consequences for the MCU. And almost like an extended TV program. I think the trailer probably reflected that. I think a lot of people thought it was just something, just skip that at the cinema. And then we go back, of course, to superhero fatigue. Keeps getting written about a lot. And like I said in the previous video, I can sort of see superhero fatigue vaguely being a thing. But again, the whole, if you make a good film, people will show up for it. Yes, there'll be some people who will say, oh, there's another Marvel film coming. They release 2 or 3 a year. I'm really not that bothered by it. But then, they're not the sort of hardcore fans who are going to watch these films. I think if you're a big superhero fan, you want to see more and more of these films, on the big screen. I think sometimes we forget, as geeks, we're living in an absolute sort of golden time at the moment. The comic book and the sci-fi and geek properties that are now, become mainstream. And we're getting to see stuff, in cinemas and on TV that we would never have dreamt of, even just sort of 10, 15 years ago. And on a slight tangent, but it is sort of a good parallel to the Marvels, was the Aquaman sequel, because Aquaman again was another the first movie, $1.1 billion it took. I think it's still the highest grossing Warner Brothers superhero movie of all time, even more than I think Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies, which seems quite incredible. I'm not entirely sure why people turned out Aquaman the way they did, but the same as with the Marvels, the sequel, as I'm recording this, it's made sort of just over 400 million in box office worldwide. So double what the Marvels has done, but still way down on its 1.1 billion of its original movie. Now, it doesn't help that it's coming as sort of the last of the Snyderverse DC movies, and it's already been very publicly said that that universe is dead, and James Gunn is working on the next iteration of the DCU, with Superman Legacy coming out next year. So the Aquaman sequel is a sort of afterthought. It's just been dumped out again, very similar to the Marvels. All rumors of things being completely reshot. I think at one point, Affleck's Batman was meant to turn up, and Clooney's Batman, and possibly Michael Keaton's Batman as well. In the end, I don't think I've not bothered seeing the films. I didn't go much on the first one, but I don't think any of them turn up at all. So they've sort of taken all that out as well. So that looks like it's probably been heavily chopped and re-edited and reshot. And I think again it had an expanding budget. So I would say on 400 mil, there's no way that film has turned a profit either. But yeah, I thought it was just interesting to note, to say a lot of parallels there with Captain Marvel, just the first films being big successes, and the follow-ups, absolutely going nowhere near as popular. So the MCU looking like it's in a sort of Thanos-sized predicament at the moment. But is there anything they can do to turn their fortunes around? Well, Bob Iger, head of Disney, he recently said he admitted that they had gone for quantity over quality, not only with Marvel but with Star Wars as well. And he said this had led to a diluted focus and attention. And I think that's been pretty obvious, for everyone to see. Was at one point we were getting 3 Marvel films a year, and numerous TV shows on Disney Plus. We were getting loads of new Star Wars shows on Disney Plus as well, and the quality had definitely suffered. He also strangely, though, said he thought the Marvels, one of the reasons it bombed was there was not enough studio executives on set, so they'd sort of been left to their own devices because of the pandemic to do their own thing, and he thought that it needed more meddling studio execs on set, as if that's ever a good thing, as if that's ever going to lead to some high creativity. But that's that's ahead of a studio for you. So yes, it definitely looks like Disney is going to really restrict the number of movies and TV shows that are coming out. Which, as I said at the beginning of this video, as you can see, it was 8 months since I did the last video looking at this, and we've only had the one MCU movie since then, and we're only getting one MCU movie this year, Deadpool 3, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute. And also there's not many shows lined up on Disney Plus either. We've just had Echo, which was only 5 episodes. I think it was a smaller budget. They sort of dumped it all out at once instead of releasing it once a week. I thought it was okay. I thought it started off really well. The fight with Daredevil was great. And then the ending really tailed off. I'm not quite sure what they were doing. After some really good fight scenes earlier in the series, I thought the ending was really lackluster. But it did set up Kingpin, who was the best part of the series, as he always is, setting him up to run for mayor of New York and probably leading into Daredevil Born Again. But yeah, we're not actually getting much. I think the only live action Marvel I think we're getting on Disney Plus is Agatha Darkhold Diaries, which I'm assuming is coming later this year. There's hasn't really been much word on that. You've got the Ironheart TV show. Ironheart, don't forget, was the sort of was it Riri, the teenage girl that's was from Wakanda Forever. Not massively well received by audiences, I don't think, but I think they're sort of pushing ahead with the TV show. Whether we're going to get that this year, I don't know. That looks like it might be next year. Daredevil Born Again, that's only just started reshooting after the strikes. And I think they're more or less, again, sort of showing the problems behind the scenes at Marvel. I think they've pretty much canned all of the footage they had, and they've completely written new scripts. I think they've got a new showrunner in and started again completely, so that ain't going to be ready till next year. And as I said, at the cinema, Deadpool 3 coming, I think it's July now. And that's the only Marvel movie we're getting at the cinema this year. We should be getting the trailer, I think, with the Super Bowl. So that should be coming very shortly. And Disney, of course, will be pinning their hopes on this one being a huge success. And I think they've probably locked in because it's got all the ingredients to be absolutely huge. Deadpool's a popular character. Ryan Reynolds is a really popular actor. Then obviously got Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine, which I think is something that's going to be huge with fans. And there's all rumours, there's a lot of multiverse stuff. I think possibly Owen Wilson's character Mobius from Loki might be turning up. There's all going to be all sorts of multiverse shenanigans. Even though this whole phase of the MCU has been sold as the big multiverse phase, it's all been a bit lackluster again. And we don't really have much of it going on. Doctor Strange to Multiverse of Madness, which I thought was going to be the big one to really kick it all into high gear. And all we got was some sort of slight alternate versions of characters in the Illuminati who then all got killed within like 5 minutes. And we only travelled between a couple of different multiverses that all looked pretty much the same. Loki obviously did a bit of multiverse stuff. And then we had Spider-Man No Way Home with the Spideys and the villains being dragged in from all the different franchises. But apart from that, a lot of the other movies and TV shows haven't really touched on the multiverse very much. But with all the sort of rumours swirling around about Deadpool 3, about things that we might be expecting to see, and possibly using it in a big way to introduce introduce the X-Men to the MCU. Yeah, I think it has got the potential to be a huge blockbuster, which Disney really, really need. And then they've almost sort of lucked in a way, because of the strikes, the actors and the writers' strikes, and having to put things on hold and things being delayed. It's given them an opportunity to sort of regroup. Captain America: Brave New World, which should have been coming out early this year, that's not coming now till February 2025. Apparently that's undergoing extensive reshoots as well. So again, there's obviously some machinations going on behind the scenes. Whether or not any of these sort of reshoots link in with Kang obviously being the big villain of this phase, and obviously the problems they've now got with Jonathan Majors' conviction, and probably all of that's gone out the window. But yeah, it's actually given them a chance to retool the movie, which hopefully will be for the best. Same with the Thunderbolts as well, the sort of the Suicide Squad of the MCU, with all the villains getting together. That's been delayed till July 2025. That's undergoing rewrites apparently. The same with the Blade movie. That's been delayed more times than I can remember, and it's been rewritten numerous times. That's apparently they're doing that on a smaller budget. I think again this makes sense that a lot of movies last year, especially Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, movies that did okay at the box office, but due to their massive budgets, just anywhere near of making a profit. So I think Marvel will have to look at making some of these movies a bit smaller, a bit cheaper, in hopes of them becoming more profitable. And of course there are the rumours that have been swirling around that they may be looking at bringing back the original Avengers and now even Thanos. Josh Brolin's been doing press for June Part 2, and he's been asked these questions and he's sort of said yes, he's heard word. I mean, how much you can go on what an actor says, but he's basically says that he's heard word that yes, possibly Thanos may return. There's been rumours about them bringing back Robert Downey Jr. As Stark, Chris Evans as Captain America. He did say in an interview it was news to him, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Again, coming from an actor, but I think it makes perfect sense, and I've no doubt these conversations have been going on in the exec offices of Disney. When you look at the money that Infinity War and Endgame have brought in, when you look at the issues they're having now, I can imagine to a bunch of studio execs, it makes absolutely perfect sense. If you can bring these people back, why wouldn't you? Especially when you're dealing with this multiverse phase. I can pretty much do whatever you want and drag people in, from all different franchises, universes, whatever you want to call it. From a creative point of view, you've got to weigh up, does it take away from the impact of character deaths, like obviously like Iron Man, Black Widow, Thanos? If dead doesn't really mean being dead, does it really mean as much? But this is comic books. They've been doing this for donkey's years, killing characters off left, right and centre, and then just bringing them back in new incarnation. As I say, with the multiverse, it would seem quite an easy thing to do. So whether or not we will get to see the old gang all back together remains to be seen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it will happen in some manner leading up to the Avengers Secret Wars movie that we've got coming out in 2027. It's penciled in for. So yes, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see some old favourites returning to the big screen in order to see if they can help prop up Marvel's financial issues. So at the moment, we've got about 5 months to wait until Deadpool 3 and see if it is the huge financial success that Marvel will be hoping for. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Deadpool 3 is going to be the huge hit that we're expecting? Would it bother you to see dead characters being resurrected? Or would you rather the MCU went in a different direction? Let me know in the comments below. Always great to read your comments. Always try and reply to as many of them as possible. So that's all from me. Take care. Till next time, eat geek and be merry.